Gonna let everybody in. We'll try this and see how it works until somebody makes me regret it.
Good afternoon. Hi.
All right, whoever's got the dog, mute your microphone, please.
Hotchkiss.
My dog's not near big enough to bark that loud.
Okay, Shannon, put us on the record, please. First up is the matter of Jeremiah Hernandez. Can everyone associated with this file please identify themselves for the record?
Matt Wade, Prosecutor's Office.
Samantha Wright, DHHS.
Ivan Brown for Shakita Hernandez.
Okay, instead of going through my normal quizzing everyone, I've got a request from the agency to terminate jurisdiction. Ms. Wright, is that still your recommendation?
Yes. Jeremiah's last pulmonary appointment went great. Chiquita isn't picking up his medications on time every month. Everybody reports to me that he's taking his medications every day. She's been working with FTBS and they report that they don't have any more concerns and feel like another reporting period would just be way too much. And we just feel like we really need to give her the chance to do it now. And I think that we're in a good place right now that we are able to close.
Very good. Ms. McCluskey, are you in support?
I am, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any objection to the court terminating jurisdiction today?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
I will sign that order.
Mr. Wade, did you get my email on the juvenile matter I sent you, the document?
Yes, I received it.
Thank you.
Next up is the Daisy minors. Could everyone associated with this file identify themselves for the record?
Matt Wade, Prosecutor's Office.
Danielle Lagore, Family Service and Children's Aid.
Matthew Hotchkiss.
Robin Sackrider.
Matthew Hotchkiss on behalf of Mr. Desi.
Ivan Brown, LGAL.
Mr. Brown, how are the Daisy minors doing?
Well, they're doing, Hunter and Haley are doing very well and kind of have transitioned fairly well with mom. Even the foster parents indicate mom has a bond. She's doing very well with Hunter, who has some issues that he deals with. She's come a long way. I'm really pleased how she's doing. My only concern is for Remington. He knows nothing more than being with the foster parents. He's young. I am sure he does not even remember being in that household. So I am concerned about the trauma that if we're going to do a return with the family reunification program in place, his psychological well-being is my utmost concern, and removing him from essentially the only parents that he really knows. My hope would be, and I don't know if mom would ever do something like this, consider a guardianship with the current placement, with her being involved with those, with Remington. I think that would be best for him, although there's no legal authority to do so. But if she cares more about her child than herself, then potentially she would do that, because Remington's hurting. I'm pleased with how mom's doing, and that's up to mom. But that's my wish. So we will go from there. And Miss Carol, I have the LGAL affidavit in an envelope ready to put in.
Okay, I received your last ones.
Thank you.
And Ms. Legore, any updates to your report or changes to your recommendations?
I do have a couple updates. I need to notify the court that Ms. Sackrider did screen positive for alcohol on the 14th. And that is concerning. I would recommend keeping the parenting time supervised until at least a month of sobriety. And then also, dad was terminated from his employer. So I would need verification of income and then a copy of his land contract before I could proceed with RP services.
Excuse me, may I say something? I actually just started my own business, so I am full-time employed. And I have the deed to my house. I sent you pictures of it, and Remington is our son. We have been working so hard. We have done everything you guys have told us to do to get our kids. It's going on 2 years. Our kids' birthdays are next month. And are we gonna miss another one of our kids' birthdays? We missed them last year. And this has been going on way too far. Yes, our son knows these people, but only because you guys forced him into that. Our kid should have never been put in this position for this long. It's time they come home. This has went on way too far. My kids were never in danger. They were never abused. They were always taken well care of by me and Robin. There was no reason to keep our children from us this long. Everything we've done, I've went to all your classes. I've done all your therapy. I've done everything. I bought a house. I have a house and I have it empty. It's where their bedrooms preserved, ready for them to come home to. And now I can be there for them 100% because I'm self-employed with my new business. So what more do you guys want? You didn't want to give them to me when I was full-time employed, but now when I'm not, I have all the opportunity to give my kids what they want and need. So why keep hurting them? Have you seen the tears in my kids' eyes when they leave us? Of course they want their parents. What do you mean? They know who mom and dad is. Why would
Counsel, can I ask you? Thank you, sir. Counsel, can I ask you, are there any objections to the recommendations?
Go ahead, Ms. McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Hotchkiss. On behalf of my client, I would just state, I mean, she's done very well. We always see hiccups. Obviously, COVID did play a role in the delay of this case, as we've seen in every case. I respect Mr. Brown's opinion as always. I'm just kind of surprised to hear that stance coming from Mr. Brown. So obviously we see children removed at birth regularly. They could be in care for 18, 24 months, and we don't entertain the possibility of them not going home when the goal is reunification just because the foster home is the only home they've known. So that seems really strange to me. My client, her mother purchased a house. She will be renting from her own mother. And that was really the only barrier for the last reporting period. So I just, for the record, would note all of that. And Remington is almost 4 years old. This isn't a baby. And again, he's been having regular parenting time. So no objection to the recommendations. Thank you.
I also want to say something too. Like, I understand that he's, attached to the, his foster parents, but at the same time, he's attached to me. I'm his mother. He knows I'm his mother. And he is.
Ma'am, let me stop you for a minute. Mr. Brown's comments clearly are upsetting to both of you, and I understand why. Mr. Brown understands that the fact that a child has become bonded with foster care placement during the course of the case is not a basis for this court to consider doing anything other than reunification.
Okay.
He was simply, as the person who's been charged with overseeing the best interest and representing the best interests of his children, he was simply expressing concern about the impact it would have on him. He's not advocating for me to do anything differently. He's suggesting to you to be especially sensitive to that, but I'm not going to refuse to return Remington to you because he's been bonded with his foster parents. So please, you don't need to say anything more about that, okay? I understand why it was upsetting to you. It's not going to factor into my decision.
Okay.
And Mr. Hotchkiss, you were about to say something?
Yes, Your Honor. We are opposed to the recommendations that have been made regarding FRP. My client, the concerns from the agency stemmed from an incident where there was an alleged police report. There's been no police report indicated regarding my client. There's nothing that's been presented that's corroborated any of the agency's concerns regarding the same with my client here. I think placement would be proper with him. The FRP request that the agency is making, or the denial of the FRP request, I should be more clear, is based upon the fact that he lost his employment. But I believe that it'd be inappropriate to tie his employment and his income or lack thereof to his ability to participate in FRP. I think that'd be inappropriate, whether or not he has his own business now, as he states. I don't think that factor really weighs in on whether or not FRP can continue. I don't think there are any issues with my client, and as the court can clearly see, he's anxious and ready to move on with his parenting time. So I would ask that he be granted placement of those children.
So, Ms. Legore, I'm a little confused. I was under the impression that we're simply waiting for acceptance to an FRP referral, not that the FRP referral was contingent on verifying the father's employment.
Right.
Is that correct?
I'm asking for discretion to make a referral. And the reason why I'm asking that to be contingent on the employment and the lease is because previously in March, when they had FRP services in the home, FRP specifically asked for that to show that the home was stable and that the reunification would stick this time.
You guys did
and
a
I
home
would,
visit to my house.
I'm speaking.
Sorry, sir.
I would certainly expect that if you're able to verify housing, which sounds like housing is in place, and if you're able to verify that indeed the father is gainfully employed through self-employment, that you would indeed exercise your discretion to reunify with FRP services.
Okay.
Judge, the problem is the parents don't live
Mr. Brown.
The parents are separated. So we're going to come down to a custody situation, and where are we going to put FRP, with mom or dad? So that's an issue that needs
Either one will be constructed as good things.
No, Judge.
I need to have the parents stop interrupting.
And
Sorry.
I'm assuming Ms. Legore, you're asking for FRP in both homes. Is that accurate?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and ultimately, if there's a custody battle, that'll be decided, but it won't be decided in this case.
Could I weigh in, Your Honor?
The request? Go ahead, Mr. Way.
Sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. I did just want to point out last review hearing back in June, and the court report references the trauma assessments. The court, I think on its own, asked for those to be completed because there were some issues about the children's behaviors after visits at the time. The report, I believe, indicates that those results are going to be available in maybe a few weeks. To me, it would be very inappropriate to return the children home until we get those trauma assessments. So we know that we can have FRP address whatever those concerns are, if there are any, in a trauma assessment with the parents. I think that we're setting everyone up for failure if we do not wait until we have those assessments. Thank you.
So when were the children seen?
The assessments were completed on the 2nd and the 10th of September, and the agency is scheduled to receive the results on October 19th and October 23rd.
Well, obviously, since we've gone to the trouble of having those completed, we want to see what the results say. I found those assessments to be very helpful in the past. I can also tell you that the individual who oversees the trauma assessment center has a very strong bias in favor of children being with their parents if they can be there safely. So I don't think there ought to be any fear of the outcome of those things, but there may be some very practical guidance available when we have children demonstrating behaviors that are concerning. We want the parents to be fully equipped to be able to address those issues. So I think since they're due very shortly, and it doesn't sound like, based upon the timing of the other thing, that's going to result in any kind of a significant delay. So I would like to see the results of those trauma assessments. I don't need to see them. I would like them to be seen. And unless those trauma assessments would argue against a return to the parents, I would expect the return to happen. If it doesn't, I want whoever in the case wishes to make the request to contact us and ask for an immediate hearing. I don't want this to drag on any longer than it already has. It's been delayed by COVID. I get that, but when the goal is reunification, as it is in this case, when the obstacles to return home have been removed, the children need to be returned home. Granted, in this case, they'll be returned to 2 separate homes, but this isn't the first time the court has been involved in a case where we have parents living in different households. That's the reality of life when parents separate. And a return to the parents obviously has to take into account the fact that they're being returned to 2 parents who don't live in the same home. We'll worry on another day what the custody arrangement is going to be. What is the current, is there a current custody order in place? Mom or Dad, if you know?
When they were home with us, I had sole physical custody, and then we had joint legal custody.
Whatever, at the point that this court releases jurisdiction of these children, whatever custody order has been in place in the past will take effect again. So if either of you does not like that and wants to see a different custody arrangement, it's incumbent upon you to petition the court to modify the custody arrangement. I am going to include in my order today that a custody order may enter that would allow you to begin the process. It won't take effect until the court terminates jurisdiction here, which is at least another review period off. But at least you can get the wheels in motion so that doesn't delay the process of returning the children home and terminating jurisdiction.
Okay.
Okay. I do have concern about the positive alcohol screen. Ma'am, is there anything you wish to say about that?
It was just, I didn't think I would have to test, and I drank like a few Mike's Hard lemonades the night before. but I've been doing very good.
Well, my experience has been if we have a parent who has, anybody who has problems with alcohol, that those problems tend to be lifelong. And it basically means you can't drink.
I've
Because
learned
it's so easy to slip back in. I certainly want to see a period of non-consumption of alcohol, but that's not going to delay anything based upon the timeframes that we're looking at here.
Okay.
So, the court is going to implement the recommendations with just a couple of modifications. One is that the return home is discretionary. Obviously, if there are recurring alcohol problems, I would expect the discretion to be exercised not to return home. It's also going to reference that return home will be, well, again, the CHC, I'm sorry, the trauma assessments could certainly impact the discretion to delay reunification. But if it does, anybody can ask for an immediate hearing. We'll get you on the calendar as soon as we get that request and give everybody a chance to weigh in on that. I am going to set our next review hearing for December 22nd at 9:30, and I surely hope that at that point, if there are no further hiccups, that we would be looking at terminating jurisdiction upon successful completion of FRP.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you,
May
Your
I say
Honor.
something
Okay.
before we end this?
Go ahead, sir.
Danielle said she was gonna recommend I get unsupervised weekends with my kids. I mean, I still get 2 hours a week with my kids. Like, that's it. That's all the time I'm offered. I've been working so hard and I got all their rooms preserved. Everything's ready for them. Everything is perfect for them. I'd like to get weekends with my kids.
Yeah, the only delay requested with respect to unsupervised parenting time was with respect to mom, to make sure we're not having problems with continued sobriety. There wasn't any request in that regard as it pertains to you.
Oh, well, our last hearing, she said that you guys said that you were gonna let me get my weekends, and I haven't had any privileges like that. And Danielle said she was gonna recommend that right now. So
Chris,
I'm
that
just
is,
putting it out there that I want weekends with my kids. I want all the time I can have with my kids.
the court is
Ms. Legore?
granting the request for unsupervised, so we will schedule an FTM to create a schedule, but I'll say on the record that I will not move directly to a full weekend. We'll slowly amp it up for the kids' sake.
It's a goal
Whatever
is
I
to
can
get
get, I'll
there.
be happy.
It's a
Sorry.
gradual reunification, but that discretion is indeed being granted. Give me just a
Okay.
moment to make sure the order reflects what I've said on the record. Okay, I think we're good here. Thank you. We'll see you folks in December.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have a good day.
Okay, next up, the Spence, Austin, and Blevins minors. Would everyone present on this file please identify themselves for the record?
That way, prosecutor's office.
Sabrina Vital on behalf of Mia for DHHS.
Rebecca McCluskey for Adrian Blevins.
And Matthew Hotchkiss, LGAL.
Okay, Mr. Hotchkiss, how are all these children doing?
I think they're doing fairly well, Your Honor. The only concern that I had in speaking with the worker was in terms of Alex. I think that there's potential need of some services regarding that minor child. Seems to be some issues with the relationship there, and that was really the only child that was expressed any concern to me. I had attempted to contact the placement, but I was unable to reach placement, so I had to go through the worker and discuss I guess things through her. But she expressed to me that mom is doing the best she can. She's working well with the children. I think she's participating through Lifeways, so she's doing what she needs to do for the benefit of her children, and there's no issues with the children's like physical health or any concerns there. It was only an expression with Alex, who's 7, and maybe getting some services through counseling of some sort with her. There's also a note that the mom is no longer in a relationship with an individual who she shouldn't have been in a relationship with. And so that's helping to foster a better relationship between mom and the children as well. So everything that I've heard has been fairly positive, Your Honor.
Ms. Beitelshees, do you have any updates to the report or to the recommendations?
I do not.
Are there any objections to the recommendations?
Can I speak? This is Adrian Blevins.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I do have Alexander into Lifeways. He is going through Hope Network.
Good.
And then I also wanted to state that I do have my psych eval set up as of Tuesday, September 29th at 11 a.m.
Very good. Thank you for those updates. I'm glad to see that Alex's issues are being addressed. There being no objection to the recommendations?
No objections to recommendations in light of that.
I will implement them. We'll set our next review hearing.
This is Adrian Blevins again. Can I give everybody my new phone number?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Thank you.
It's 517-416-6520.
Thank you for that.
That's 4. You're welcome. I'm gonna say it again just so everybody has it. It's 416-6520.
And Miss Blevins, if you do change numbers, will you please make sure to get a hold of me and let me know, because I was unaware of that.
Yes, I will. I just changed it like 2 days ago, so I'm so sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next review hearing will be December 15 at 9:30. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh my God.
Okay, next up is Nicholas Truehill. Can each of you on this file please identify yourselves for the record?
That way, prosecutor's office.
Jade Blair, DHHS.
Ricky Truehill, father.
Caitlin Center, mother.
Mike Kelly, guardian ad litem.
I believe Mr.
I have
Hotchkiss
a
represents.
Mr. Hotchkiss?
Which case was this, Your Honor?
Nicholas Truehill.
I don't believe. Oh, the child's name. I
Seems-
apologize, Your Honor. Yes, I'm Matt Hotchkiss. I'm representing Ricky Trail.
Okay.
The father.
No, it looks like it's spelled differently than it's pronounced. That always throws me too.
Oh,
It
okay.
looks- Yeah.
I always write down, when I think of it, the phonetic pronunciation of names in the file jacket.
That would have
Okay,
been helpful for
I
me.
have,
Thanks.
I have a recommendation for termination of jurisdiction. Are you in support of that, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
I am going to grant the request. I am terminating jurisdiction today. Congratulations, parents. I hope you continue to do well. Best of luck to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last up today is Angelica Towers. Can everyone associated with this file please identify yourself for the record?
Way Prosecutor's Office. I think we might have a worker maybe in the waiting room, Your Honor. Patricia
There's no
McGuire.
one in the waiting room.
No?
No, nobody's in there.
Okay.
Who's the worker on this one?
I believe it's Patricia McGuire.
Are we on, are we,
That is true. It
We're
is.
not early,
It
are
is
we?
Miss McGuire.
No, we're.
oh, here we go. She just logged in. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. McGuire is now present. So, Mr. Hotchkiss, how is Angelica doing?
Well, Your Honor, I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Sipes, who I believe is present here in Zoom today. And per my conversation with him, I don't believe she's doing very well at all. I think she's having some very serious issues in the placement at Eagle Village. Some significant trauma that she's suffered, and she's beginning to self-harm, or I should say continuing to self-harm in a pretty egregious manner, and is, I wouldn't say that she's AWOL, but she definitely likes to walk a boundary further than she should. And it's very difficult to control her besides when there's a 1-to-1 ratio. So I believe it's the case that Eagle Village is actually attempting to transport her out to another facility. And again, Mr. Sipes is here, I believe, to go over that, because I think they were submitting paperwork to that effect. So I agree with the recommendations in terms of her remaining in out-of-home placement. But I'd like to hear more from Mr. Sipes, perhaps, if the court's inclined to determine what might be best for her moving forward, given these new recommendations.
Certainly. Mr. Sipes, do you have anything to add to your report?
Yeah, so I did talk with Mr. Hotchkiss yesterday, and he reflected pretty clearly what I tried to convey to him. I will say, sort of on the opposite effect, that she has clearly been able to identify people that she can trust here. And that's been a strength of hers that she's been able to do over the 3 weeks that she's been here. And when she is getting one-to-one attention, or as close to that as possible, her behaviors are pretty minimal. But if anything happens that requires staff that she has built trust or a relationship with to go away and do something different, her go-to, either intentionally or unintentionally, is to walk out of the building and start to go into kind of like a depressive downward spiral. Her baseline, definitely, she'll talk about a lot of suicidal exclamations like, hey, I want to run into a car, but she'll say them very casually, sometimes sarcastically, but they're so frequent throughout the day that it's definitely heavy. It's on her mind continuously throughout the day. And Miss McGuire may be able to speak on this as well. What we've been working with Miss McGuire, and from what I understand, the regional placement unit, we've been trying to find a more appropriate placement for her. In my opinion, that has three main elements: a 1-to-1 ratio if possible, a lockdown facility where she can't just walk out of the building, and preferably more female staff than not. It's not that she can't get along with male staff, but there's definitely been male staff here that she's associated with past trauma, I imagine, where she's made allegations and feels completely unsafe around us, at least a specific staff member here. And we don't want to hype that up on her as well. But I will say that she has been able to make some relationships with staff and be able to trust people. And when she's able to be with those people on a 1-to-1 ratio, she actually presents as pretty well. And she's hilarious too, just as like she's got a very sarcastic sense of humor.
Thank you. So, Ms. McGuire, I'm aware of some heightened requirements for residential placement. I understand what's behind those requirements, although my personal experience since I've been on the bench is we've always seen residential placement as a last resort, and only resort to residential placement when there just simply isn't another viable choice. So I guess my first question to you is, I'm assuming Angelica falls under these new heightened requirements?
Yes, right now, because of the behaviors that her therapist is describing, it has been discussed at length that it would be best for her right now to keep her safe to be in residential. But obviously our long-term goal would be to place her with family. That is what we really want to do. But we really want to get her mental health issues treated prior to doing that. And otherwise we're trying to work with, she has 2 biological sisters that we're hoping to work with further to assess possible placement in the future.
Have all the necessary approvals been obtained for her continued residential placement?
Yes. Right now, yep. Mm-hmm.
Any updates to your recommendations for disposition, or do they remain as stated in your report?
They remain as stated, Your Honor.
All right, they certainly appear appropriate to me. It's hard to imagine that Angelica would do well today in anything other than a residential placement that can deal with her significant past trauma and the consequent mental health issues that she's having. I believe the recommendations are appropriate. I am going to implement them in my order of disposition. We will set our next review hearing for December 15th at 9:30.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you all. That concludes our proceedings today.
Thank you.
Mr. Way, how do things look for tomorrow?
We just have a 8:30 trial that should take 10 minutes or so. It'll be real quick.
Okay,
Unless
thank you
Mr.
very
Hodges
much.
Takes way too long.
I've only got 4 or 5 witnesses, Mr. Way, don't worry.
I'll be objecting.
Very well. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.